All right, everybody, how's it going? It is Tuesday, November 25th, 2025, and of course, we just finished with week 12 of the NFL, so it's only natural, it's only right we jump into week 13. Just want to start off by saying happy Thanksgiving to anyone who celebrates, who observes the holiday, mostly Americans. Happy Thanksgiving and everything like that. We got some games to go over that day, so that'll be pretty fun, but before we get into all that, we have to get through the start of the video. Didn't have a great week last week. We went 8-6. Took a couple risky picks and they didn't really pan out, but that's how it goes. It happens. If we would have picked the Falcons, things would have went pretty. Whatever. It happens. Such is life. We move on and hope to have a better week. We're still picking at about 63%, so we're doing pretty good. But before we jump in, make sure you leave a like, subscribe to the channel if you're new around here. Both those things help the video do better and make the channel do better and YouTube mumbo jumbo. Most importantly, make sure you leave your picks down below in a comment, what you think of the video, what your picks record is, what your picks are. All those fun things you can leave down below, and I'll be sure to get back to you as soon as I can. It may be a little lower, it might be a little late, but I will eventually get to your comment as soon as I'm able to. I like to comment back, like to go head to head with people on picks, so make sure you leave those down below. Make sure you leave a like and all that other stuff. Now let's jump into the video. A lot of games to go over this week. Let's see. Yep, 8-6 after 2 really good weeks. That brings us to 112, 65, and 1. Not exactly the best week, but not exactly the worst. Leaves a lot of room to improve. No one's off this week. We have a full slate of 16, so quite a few games to go over. And yeah, Thanksgiving Day football. Happy Turkey Day. As per usual, the Lions lead off the triple header. The Green Bay Packers take on the Detroit Lions. Lions are favored by 2.5 with an over-under of 49.5. Lions coming off a win. Packers coming off a win. Packers are 7-3-1. Lions are 7-4. All right, so I think this series is going to be a split, home split. So Packers take their home game. Lions will take their home game. I think even with the Lions kind of lax defense the last couple weeks, one thing they're able to kind of do, and one team they're used to, is the Packers, and they do play the Packers pretty well defensively. I think the Lions offense will be in pretty good shape, even though the Packers do play really good defense. It's also really hard to determine how division games will exactly play out. So there's that kind of weird tension. And then when you look at that first game that these two teams played, the Lions could have probably won that game had they not kept doing the dumbest things possible, like weird going for it, weird little mental mistakes, weird little first game of the season mistakes. They aren't a really good start of the season team. So again, those kind of like small things kind of add up. I don't know. I just feel like the Lions won't get swept by a division opponent. So there's that kind of like tension on the game. I don't know. I just, in my gut, I feel like the Lions are going to take this one in a really, really close game. It just also kind of feels like the way the AFC or NFC North has been kind of going this year, where everybody's going to remain kind of close at around an 8-4 clip. So I don't know. I feel like the Lions end up taking this game. I like the way that the Lions offense has mostly looked this season. It's been pretty consistently good all year. And that kind of makes me think about the Packers offense. That can be pretty inconsistent, can be kind of streaky from game to game to game. It can be different. It can be kind of hard to predict what they're going to look like. And so that's kind of why I'm going with the Lions. I trust their offense a lot more. Defensively, I probably trust the Packers a little bit more. Special teams, probably the Lions. So again, coaching, I kind of lead in Detroit. So that's kind of why I'm going with the Lions. They tick more of my boxes. 4:30 p.m., the Kansas City Chiefs take on the Dallas Cowboys. Chiefs are 3-point favorites with an over-under of 51.5. Both teams coming off a win. The Cowboys beat the Eagles 24-21, and the Chiefs beat the Colts 23-20. Yeah, I feel like the Chiefs are going to win this game. I'm still not really like sold on the Cowboys, and I'm not really sure why. They did really good versus the Eagles, but again, I view some games as a team winning and another team losing. I view that game by the Eagles as a collapse, and they lost that game with, like, they should have won. They were up like 20-0 with like barely any time, like the fourth quarter to play, and they blew that game. So again, when I think about that, I'm like, all right, that's kind of a fluky win against the division opponent. Dallas, for the most part, has one good win all year, and it's against the Eagles, and they played the Packers pretty good. But now I'm like, all right, Kansas City has beaten a lot of pretty good teams. They tend to play pretty good when the other team has like some energy and some pomp to them. So I'd imagine we'll see Kansas City's defense kind of shut down the Cowboys offense, kind of like they were able to shut down the Colts high-flying offense, take away the run game, kind of take away the pass. They're pretty good on defense. And then I think the Cowboys offense or defense that isn't really great, but looks a little better with Quinnen, can make an impact. But I think the Chiefs offense does just enough because they're kind of used to games being low scoring. They're used to not being able to score a ton of points. Low scoring game, I feel like, favors the Chiefs. And that's kind of why I'm going Kansas City. 8:20 p.m. Eastern, we have the Bengals taking on the Ravens. Ravens are 7-point favorites with an over-under of 51.5, another division game. Bengals lost 26-20 to the Patriots, and the Ravens won 23-10 to the Jets, and they're 6-5. I'm going to go with they're back in first place, too. Remember when they went 2-5, and we're like, yeah, and the Ravens are going to wind up winning the division, and they're probably going to win all but 1 or 2 games that they have remaining. So far, we've hit a home run on that prediction. And I think it continues on, even with Joe Burrow back and Jamar Chase back and the Bengals basically being fully healthy. I think right now the Ravens defense is playing at a crazy level. They're kind of playing what we thought at the level that we thought they'd be. And I think because of the Bengals' bad offensive line and sort of a short week after a pretty physical, hard game against the Patriots and the Jets, the Ravens played the Jets, not that hard of a game. And again, the Bengals defense not being the greatest and Lamar kind of slowly getting back into shape. I think the game kind of stays close, but I ultimately think the Ravens have the better offense, could have the better offense based on O-line stuff and run game. And then I think they have a way better defense. So easy kind of game to kind of think about. Plus, it just feels like a mismatch. I don't know. All right, Black Friday football, a new weird tradition in the NFL that I'm not a big fan of. 3 p.m. Eastern Standard, the Bears take on the Eagles. Eagles are 7-point favorites with an over-under of 44.5. The Bears beat the Aaron Rodgers-less Steelers 31-28. They're 8-3, and the Eagles are also 8-3 after their loss we talked about. I'd imagine that the Bears are going to get a very pissy, very mad, very aggressive version of the Eagles, so that's kind of one strike. Eagles aren't going to want to lose this game at all. They're at home, so that's 3 strikes now. The Eagles are a better team than the Bears by a pretty aggressive amount roster-wise. It's not that the Bears are a bad team at all. It's just like this game is like a wild mismatch. I might give the Bears coaching. I don't know if Ben Johnson's a better coach than Sirianni. He seems like he could be. However, it's just I don't know if the Bears offense has gone up against a defense like the Eagles. And I don't really know if the Bears defense has seen an offense like the Eagles. It's just like they gave up 50 to the Lions. You know what I mean? So it's like we have seen the Bears go up against good teams and kind of get their shit spanked. And then when we see them play like bad teams, they tend to win. But again, that's not really a fault, right? They're beating the teams they should beat. And then they kind of beat the Steelers, which feels like a good win, but it wasn't Aaron Rodgers. So again, I'm kind of thinking like, well, the Bears, they have a good run of games here, but they haven't really beaten anybody. Whereas like the Eagles play all the time and like they're going to be super focused for this. So I don't know if the Bears are quite ready for this game. We'll see how they react to it. I'd imagine they can kind of stay in it early on, but then the Eagles kind of pull away late. If the Eagles had beaten the Cowboys, this would be a prime game for the Bears to get an upset. All right, let's get into the Sunday 1 o'clock games. The Rams take on the Panthers. Rams are 10.5-point favorites with an over-under of 45.5. Rams are 9-3. They blew out the Buccaneers 34-7. Panthers are 6-6. They lost 20-9 to the 49ers. And while the Panthers have had a pretty nice season, it's been a fun story. I think going up against this Rams defense and against this Rams offense is not the thing you want to see. I think this game could get pretty ugly. However, the Panthers, in every game where you think it's going to be like an ass beating, they've kind of kept it close. So I'd imagine somehow the Panthers kind of keep it close. But like with the way that Stafford's playing and with the way that the Rams are playing overall, I think it's like a pretty foregone conclusion. I mean, that Rams-Bucks game was over in like the second quarter. I think 3 points got scored in the second half, and like it was like 31-7 at halftime. It's like, oof. Good luck, Carolina. That's not a game you want to run into. So I'm going to go with the Rams in that one. Kind of another obvious game. The 49ers take on the Browns. 49ers are favored by 6.5 with an over-under of 39.5. 49ers, we just talked about, they beat the Panthers, and the Browns beat the Raiders 24-10. Congrats to Shadur Sanders with being the first Browns quarterback to win their first NFL start in like 70 years. Pretty crazy. Let's go Shadur. Unfortunately, I think running into the 49ers is a big problem. I do think that Myles Garrett causes problems. I think the Browns defense causes problems in this game and kind of shuts down the 49ers offense and keeps it really close. However, I just don't think the Browns have enough offense to overcome what is still a very dominant San Francisco defense. Even with all the injuries, with Robert Saleh kind of coordinating the pack, they are very, very dominant, very aggressive, very much like the 49ers defenses that took them to conference championships and Super Bowls, or at least the one Super Bowl, or two. Yeah, Garoppolo and Purdy. Yep. So again, so you know what I mean? They have that kind of defense going on. I can imagine they shut down the Browns' very, very, very struggling offense, very inconsistent offense. Yeah, could be a fun game though, as we watch Myles get closer and closer to the sacks record. The Houston Texans take on the Colts. Colts are 4.5-point favorites with an over-under of 44.5. Texans beat the Bills 23-19, and the Colts lost to the Chiefs 23-20. I'm somewhat in the camp that I think the Colts collapse. With 6 games left for them. What are they? 8 and 3, 11, 6, 7. Yeah, so they have 6 left, and like 4 of them are. I think they play Houston twice and Jacksonville twice. And they'd never win in Jacksonville, so you can mark 1 loss probably on the record right away. So then they have 3 games left out of their division, and it's like the Texans are playing unbelievable defense. Their offense is doing just enough to win. I think they're getting CJ Stroud back. Whereas like with the Colts, it's like we just watched how teams can beat them, and I'm wondering if that's like a blueprint situation on Indy now. It's like just sell out to stop the run and play man coverage on Daniel Jones, and you'll probably win. And it's like, yeah, that worked. That worked for the entire second half, to the point where the Colts did nothing in the second half of that game. They shut out Jonathan Taylor and made Daniel Jones beat him, and he couldn't do it. And I think the Texans, with a defense that is good enough to shut down the Buffalo Bills high-flying offense, a defense I think is better than the Chiefs, will probably be able to replicate that game plan against Indy and sort of do the same thing. Shut down Taylor, take out, especially with like Will Anderson, that defensive front that they have. Take out Jonathan Taylor and make Daniel Jones beat you, which we kind of know he can't do. Give me the Texans in a big upset. I don't really care about this game. The New Orleans Saints take on the Miami Dolphins. Saints lost 24-10, and the Dolphins were on a bye. Dolphins are 5.5-point favorites with an over-under of 42.5. I've got the Dolphins winning this game. I think everyone else will too. Let's move on. Oh, another game I don't give a shit about. And you know what? I had to do it. The Falcons take on the Jets. Falcons are 2.5-point favorites with an over-under of 39.5. Falcons won their game 24-10. Jets lost their game 23-10. I'm going to go with the Falcons. I know I'm not supposed to pick the Falcons, and this could be a bad idea, but I should have picked them last week. I know New Orleans sucks. The Jets are even worse. They have nothing. They ain't got a defense. They kind of can run the football. They can't throw it. And against this secondary, I'd imagine the Jets just don't get anything going. Pretty easy win for Atlanta. The Cardinals take on the Bucks. Bucks are 3-point favorites with an over-under of 44.5. I have an asterisk on this game because I don't really know who's going to be the quarterback right now. Maybe it's Baker. Maybe it's not. I doubt it's Baker, but I don't know. Cardinals lost 27-24 to the Jags. They're 3-8. Buccaneers lost to the Rams. They're 6-5. I don't know. I went with the Bucks. Mostly because I just think the Cardinals have like a shitty defense, and they put up a bunch of yards. It's just like they don't really cash in points. They could have beat the Jaguars, but just couldn't close it. I don't know. They're like in games, but they can't close, and they can't seem to take leads and hold it. There's just something fundamentally off about the Cardinals where I can't quite put my finger on it, to where even the backup Buccaneers will probably beat them. I don't know. I also see the Bucs playing pretty aggressive in this game at home, like trying to save like a really bad skid and like kind of get back on the right side of things. So I see that. And with the Cardinals, I don't know. I just feel like they're tanking. Like with the way that they're losing games, it's like, oh, they're losing on purpose. That's the only way I can function with that. I don't know. Jaguars take on the Titans. Jaguars are 6.5-point favorites with an over-under of 41.5. As we just said, Jaguars won their game, and the Titans barely lost to the Seahawks 30-24, but that's more on Seattle. Yeah, I'm gonna go with the Jaguars. Even though it's a division game, I don't really think this will be close. Titans are a pretty bad team. No offensive line, no offense to work with. Jaguars play an okay defense, especially with pass rush. I don't know. That's kind of an easy game. Not really too much to discuss in the Jaguars-Titans game. Vikings take on the Seahawks in the Sam Darnold revenge game. Seahawks are 10.5-point favorites with an over-under of 41.5. Just talked about the Seahawks. Vikings lost to the Packers. I talked about that. Vikings are 4-7. I'd imagine Seattle wins this game pretty comfortably. You'd imagine Darnold's going to want to tear them up, which he's probably going to. Defensively, I could imagine Minnesota makes a bit of a stand and makes it kind of close. But ultimately, I see Seattle doing what they always do, getting off to a huge lead, and then the other team slowly chipping away throughout the game because Seattle commits a million turnovers in the second half, and then it kind of just ends here at 31-21. Seattle or Minnesota runs out of time to come back. That's kind of basically how every Seattle game plays. Seattle gets to like 30 and then they stop, and then the other team has to try to come back, and it's about impossible. So give me the Seahawks in an easy win. There are a lot of the games where you can just kind of go over them really quickly, right? The Raiders take on the Chargers. Chargers are 9.5-point favorites with an over-under of 41.5. Raiders lost to the Browns. We talked about it. Chargers off a bye. I'm going to go with the Chargers. I'd imagine they rebound after a really ugly loss to the Jaguars before the bye. They had the bye to prepare. Off a bye at home versus a bad Raiders team. Chargers all day. Buffalo Bills take on the Pittsburgh Steelers. Bills are 3.5-point favorites with an over-under of 47.5. Bills are 7-4. They lost to the Texans. Pittsburgh also lost. They're 6-5. Don't know if Aaron Rodgers is playing. I don't know if that matters a lot. Even if with Rodgers playing, I think the Bills wind up winning this game. I think they know they have to keep winning games because of the Patriots. Because at some point, if the Patriots keep winning and the Bills lose another game, it almost becomes to a point where the Patriots just kind of clinch the division because they've run out of losses to catch the. You know what I mean? It's like it's already pretty bad to the point where if the Patriots win against New York and then they somehow go home and beat the Bills, the Patriots, I think, the division's over. They clinch it. So like the Bills have to keep winning these games, or else the Patriots' path to clinching the East becomes very, very small. And whereas like the Steelers are in a similar position, I don't know. I feel like the Steelers kind of got off to a fool's gold start. The receiving situation isn't great. Offensive line isn't great. Rodgers is banged up. Defense looks kind of not as great lately. So again, it's kind of like, all right, well, the Steelers kind of imploded a little bit. I don't know. I like the Bills here. I feel like they're going to win, especially if Rodgers doesn't play. And even if he does, I don't know if that really means much. Sunday Night Football. The Broncos take on the Commanders. Both teams coming off byes. 9-2 Broncos, 3-8 Commanders. Broncos are 6.5-point favorites with an over-under of 43.5. Even if Jaden Daniels plays, I feel like the Broncos wind up winning. Don't like the Commanders' defense. It's a very bad unit. Offensively, they look okay, but like even with Daniels, it's like, is he going to be good and ready to play, or is it going to look kind of like Marcus Mariota leading the team? If it's Marcus Mariota, give me the fucking Broncos because they're going to destroy that team with the defense. You know what I mean? It's like the Broncos are so good at defense. Washington's offense is so streaky and inconsistent, and they play such bad defense. It's really hard to pick against the Broncos in this one, especially like with Sean Payton off a bye week. It's like, yeah, that feels like an easy win for the Broncos. But the Broncos, knowing them, they'll probably keep it close. And here's the game of the week. 8:15 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on the brightest of lights on Monday Night Football. The New York Football Giants, with their 2-10 record, fresh off a loss to the Lions 34-27, take on the New England Patriots, the 6-time Super Bowl champions. They're 10-2 with a 26-20 win over the Bengals. Patriots are 7.5-point favorites with an over-under of 46.5. I got the Patriots. The Giants don't play second half games. And the reason I say that is I think the Giants were up like 20-10 or like 2017 or something like that at halftime, looking like they were going to run away with that game. And then they score 7 points the entire rest of the game and let Detroit just walk back into the game to win the game. You know what I mean? It's like that's kind of how every single game for them has gone this year, where they play very good in the first half, and then the second half, the whole team sucks, and they don't score any more points. The defense lets the other team walk back into the game, and it's like 5-6 games. If that didn't happen, they could be like a 6-7 win team, in my opinion. Maybe even at 8-3. I think it's that dramatic, where it's like, wow. And then Giants fans can like say I'm wrong about that, but I think I'm dead on. Like they literally could be a 6 to 8 win team if they could finish games that they have giant leads in. Like they should have probably beat the Packers. They should have beat the Lions. Should have beat the Broncos. Like they should have beat. There's a number of teams where it just starts to really add up, because that's 3. That's, what is that, 5-7 all of a sudden? Like add 2 more, that's 7-5. Like all of a sudden, like their record really starts to improve if they could finish games. And however, the Patriots are a kind of a similar team in that they play one half of football, and normally it's the second half where they play. The first half is pretty bad. I can imagine this game going like this. The Giants get up to a 17-7, 17-10 lead at halftime, and then the game kind of just ends with this score. I think the Patriots are a better team. They play better offense. They play better defense. They're better coached. This will be a pretty good win for the Patriots, but watch the Giants to keep it weirdly close. But all right, that should about do it. Thank you so much for listening. If you made it to the end, you are we're in the drain, in the tube, in the dumps, in the disposal, in the back of the garbage truck, in the garbage can being lifted up into the air by that weird claw in a garbage truck that dumps it in and slams the can back on the ground, breaking it a little bit every time. That's what it is. Either way, if you listened all the way, make sure you leave a like, subscribe to the channel if you're new around here. Remember, those things do help us out. And also, most importantly, make sure you leave a comment with your picks record, how you've done the last couple weeks, all the fun mumbo jumbo stuff that we always like to include. It helps the video, and then plus, like, it's fun for pick'em. So as always, thank you so much for watching. I appreciate you. Hopefully you have a good rest of your day, night, morning, mid-afternoon, mid-evening, midnight, midday, late night, late evening, late morning, brunch, dinner, whenever you listen. Hopefully you just have a good one. And as always, it's go Lions, go Tigers, and of course it's always go first place in the NFL, New England Patriots. Only team with 10 wins, New England Patriots. Only team with as much coolness as the Patriots. Go Patriots. Have a good one. Bye-bye.